Is there gatekeeping here?
Who is there gatekeeping? I know that there was people that helped me and I'm grateful for them, but there was a lot of people that didn't want to help me. But moving to San Antonio was crazy to me because no one in my family had really, got out of the small town that I was in.
Do you agree there's a lot of luck involved in sports?
It's all luck.
Advice for young creatives trying to make connections in this industry.
Don't think that you're too cool to go up to people regardless of the level. Just getting a conversation going, because when you create those genuine friendships and relationships with people, you don't know what that's going to lead to. One of my greatest callings was, not to make creative work, but to be put in this position to create, pathways for other people in sports. I know when I was in high school, I didn't know that this was an avenue I could take. I was coming in as a kid fresh out of college, kind of this ignorant kid thinking that everything I made was the greatest thing ever.
Welcome to Side Hustle Creatives, a podcast dedicated to the creators of the world. Today, I have the honor of being with a very special guest who I feel like doesn't need an introduction, who has done a really good job of making a name for himself in the city of San Antonio and throughout the state of Texas through quality and consistent work. Today, I'm honored to have Dylan Trevino.
How's it going, man? Good to be here. Glad to be here.
Hell yeah, Dylan. I appreciate you taking some time, man. I know you're hella busy. If you don't mind doing me a quick favor, I know we kind of know each other, but give the people an introduction, tell them who you are and kind of what you do.
Got you. Yeah, my name is Dylan Trevino, and I'm one of the video coordinators here at UTSA. Been here at UTSA for about 4 years now total between student and full time work. So just glad that I'm in the position I'm in today and very grateful for it.
Again, I appreciate you for being here, Dylan. Kind of want to kind of dive deep into or dive back into kind of your journey and what it's been like for you as a creative. Where did this first start for you? What made you essentially pick up the camera?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I know people got really, really bored in COVID, so this is kind of where it all started for me. Was in COVID. I knew I wanted to do something. I was just bored at home, kind of doing nothing, playing 2K. That was really about it. And I just wanted to do something different. I was getting super bored, and so one of the original ideas I had was to start a podcast myself. And so started one, didn't really work out. It was cool, but it was getting a little bit too much. Wasn't really didn't really go the way I had planned, and kind of stopped it. And then a little bit later, I was like, oh, I kind of want to bring it back. Like I'm still bored. And it was one holiday. I was at my girlfriend's dad's house, and he was like, they were mentioning something about cameras, and I was like, oh, I've always thought camera work was cool. Like I've always wanted to get into it, not really thinking too much. And his wife was like, oh, well, I just upgraded my camera, so like if you want my hand me down, I was gonna sell it, but like I'll give it to you. And she handed me this little Sony A6400 and a kit lens, and it was wraps ever since then.
Nice. What was the first thing you shot?
The first thing I shot, I actually shot one of um I originally, when I first got the camera, I was just doing photos. So I think one of the first things I shot, I did photos for my old high school basketball team. So that was pretty cool. But one of the first videos I ever shot was like a Pop Warner Youth tournament, dirt field in the middle of nowhere, And it's kind of crazy to think now that I think about some of the stadiums I've been. I shot at, the UT football stadium. Now I get to shoot at the Alamo Dome every year now for UTSA football. So it's kind of crazy to see like the journey, the football field that I started with and the football fields that I shoot at now.
That is crazy, bro. And it's not often that we kind of get stuck in where we are now. It's not often that we kind of look back at those days of for me it was like the Outlaws and being at
Yeah.
Wheatley Sports Complex and kind of like them long hot days and
Hmm.
to now and being able to shoot things that we get to shoot now. So that's pretty
Hmm.
awesome, bro. Because that's kind of where I knew you from. Bishop Heights. Are you from San Antonio or are you from?
Yeah. So originally I'm from Kingsville. I went to school in Bishop. It's two towns, 5 minutes from each other. But yeah, I lived in Kingsville originally from Kingsville. Went to high school in Bishop, but lived in Kingsville for, I think it was about 20 years of my life. So didn't move out to San Antonio until my sophomore year of college. So, but I've been here ever since.
And what was that journey like to San Antonio? Like you immediately came for college, or did you just come with the camera and a dream?
Yeah, no, I went to Texas A&M Kingsville back in my hometown for my first year of college, and I knew I wanted to work in sports, so I was going through like coaching route. That was my way to kind of stay in sports. So I was doing that, And then after I went through the the time in COVID where I kind of picked up a camera and started to want to do it a little bit more, ended up when I moved to San Antonio and transferred to UTSA, kind of like switched my major altogether and switched it to marketing with a concentration in sports management. So that's kind of where I came. I kind of had taught a lot of camera stuff to myself. So when I changed my major to marketing, I kind of wanted to tap into, how do I work better with audiences? How do I make stuff that can cater to certain audiences and grow, social media brands and stuff like that? So that was kind of what I wanted to do. But moving to San Antonio was crazy to me because no one in my family had really, got out of the small town that I was in. So for me to kind of do that and go out there and be on my own, I had my girlfriend, now fiance, with me. So kind of glad that I had someone to do it with. But that journey was crazy. We moved into our apartment, and my first year at UTSA, I didn't have a actual job. All of my all the money that I earned that first year that I lived here was straight off of freelance. And so it's just crazy to look back on now because like I don't with the way I'm living now, it's kind of crazy. Like, how did I not even have a job at one point? I was just freelancing, so it's crazy to look back on. But I'm super thankful for that experience because you kind of go through the highs and lows, and you kind of get in that mindset where I'm gonna do whatever I can because if I don't, I can't eat or I'm not gonna be able to pay rent. So you get in that mode where you kind of just gotta grind and do what you gotta do.
What was that journey like for you, my dog? Because I know that side hustle is kind of it's tricky, bro, and it ain't for everybody. Because it's sometimes you're taking on jobs you probably shouldn't be taking on because maybe they don't pay the most and they require the most, or sometimes but like you said, man, sometimes we got to eat, we got to get rent due, and sometimes maybe even sometimes we take something that we're not even qualified to do, but it helps us grow and like it's part of the hustle. But what was that side hustle for like for you, my dog?
It was really cool. I didn't really have a direction because there was no one really from my hometown that was doing kind of the work that I had done. And when I got to San Antonio, I didn't really know anybody that was kind of doing creative work. I hadn't really networked with anyone yet. So I one of the biggest things I knew was football was big in Texas. So like, how can I capitalize on that? And I kind of came like around the beginning of football season when I moved out here. And so I was just trying to find high school games to cover. And coming from a small town like mine, I didn't really know too many San Antonio schools. The only one that I really could think of was Judson High School. So my first ever game that I ever shot in the San Antonio area was for Judson High School, and I just emailed the athletic director, got a credential for the season, and I was able to go out and film them. Shot that first video for Judson, and kind of after that, it just my Instagram page just kept on growing. And so people after that game, people started DMing me from Judson, from other high schools around the area. Some tournament directors were getting in touch with me for other sporting events. So that's all that really started it for me, and it was really crazy, but I'm so grateful for the people that I've kind of met along the way. There's people that I shot for a long time ago that I still talk to this day, and they always give me the don't get too Hollywood on us. So it's cool, and I definitely want to thank them as much as I can. So I definitely do try to go out and work with those people as much as I can. People that kind of paved the way and helped me get my first shot at doing this stuff here in San Antonio.
Shout out Judson Rockets, bro. That's big time,
Yeah.
and they're one of the elite programs in the state of Texas, man. Growing up for me, that's kind of what represented San Antonio and Universal City Converse area was Judson and that prestige legacy that they built early in the '90s and 2000s, bro. So shout out to Judson, man, putting
Yeah, for
Dylan
sure.
on, man. Hey, it's funny because I feel like you came and you came quick, bro. Like
Mhm.
I don't really know the time of that. I don't know the year, but I know when you first came on my radar was some of the pro workouts, some of the pro runs over at UTSA. So I don't know
Mhm.
what that gap is like on you, but I remember seeing uh, this amazing video go viral on Twitter of Keldon, Lonnie, and several other Spurs that I can't really remember off the top of my head, and then of course UTSA athletes that were getting in those runs at that time too, and that was honestly probably the best video I ever saw come out of San Antonio at the time, and nobody I'd ever seen do videos like that before, and so
Mhm.
what was that like being able to do things like that?
I think it was really really cool. So that was around kind of football season where I started doing the football Judson stuff kind of came along, and then basketball season came along, and I kind of just I was just doing whatever I could to kind of shoot content at the highest level as quick as I could. So I was DMing UTSA basketball coaches, and I was like, "Hey, can I come out and shoot a practice? I'll come and I'll give y'all everything I shoot." And so that first year, I wasn't officially with UTSA, but I was still shooting for the basketball team, making content for them. And, thankfully, I made good relationships with the coaches, and they would kind of nudge me here and there, said, "Hey, Keldon's going to come play some pickup, around this time if you want to come by." And that's how it all started for me. So I used that. I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity that I was given. So, when Keldon and Lonnie, Drew Eubanks, Devin Vassell, when they were all in that gym, I was like, "Dylan, you got to make something better than you ever have, or else people are going to forget about you and you're going to miss out on this chance." So using that opportunity was really really cool for me. As you said, it kind of went viral on Twitter. All the Keldon Johnson fan pages. This was right when Keldon was getting hot with the Spurs after the Olympic run he had just made. So that was pretty cool. And then I think one of the reporters from Ken's Five's channel, his Twitter, he kind of shared it, and it kind of got more, you know, clout off of that. It was just continuing to blow up. He released a news article about it, and kept doing that for the next couple of videos that I made. So it was a really cool experience. What was cool about me making that video was I had no guidance really before that. So what I was making was just me. I wasn't trying to mimic someone else, and I wasn't trying to be anybody else. It was just me making what I thought was cool, and thankfully a lot of other people thought it was cool too. So that helped out a lot.
That was really good, bro. That was really good to see too for San Antonio and for the creatives here, because I feel like in a place like in San Antonio, maybe we lag behind when you think about cities of Houston and Dallas, and to see something like that pop off for the city and for people to recognize it and appreciate it, most importantly, was beautiful to see, my dog.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's something that I don't know if I'd be in the position I am today if I hadn't gone through, that season of being able to, film those guys and make the most out of the opportunity that I had.
And then it ended with a splash of MBD, and then I was like, made by Dylan. I was like, the logo. I was like, who is made by Dylan? Like who? And so instantly, me, I was like, yo. I started researching. I was like, dog, this dude's legit. Like this dude is official. I've never even heard of this dude before.
Mm.
Um, and then we obviously connected at maybe at some runs after that, and kind
Yeah.
of built a relationship from there. But how did you come across the name Made by Dylan, and when did you take the leap to start creating merch and pushing that Made by Dylan pretty hard?
Yeah, honestly, people probably think it was, me, science lab type thing, thinking like equations going across my mind, trying to come up with a name or something like that. But I had just seen, a lot of people do different accounts, and as simple as it sounds, I literally just like looked up a TikTok video, and I was like, cool Instagram names for a photographer, and a bunch of different things like popped up, and it said like made by underscore and like fill it out, and I was like, oh, Made by Dylan doesn't sound too bad. Like maybe people will like that. Ended up making that my Instagram name, and I think now at events or gyms, even when I'm back home, I think I get called Made by Dylan more than I just get called by my regular name. So it's pretty cool. It's fun. People like it. I'll be at games and I'll hear my name. I'll hear like Made by Dylan or MBD. Like, so that's a really cool thing that I never thought I would have got to experience. But now that I've been through it, it's pretty cool to see, and I hope I can just pave a way for other people to kind of experience the things that I've experienced, in my past with my career.
We'll touch on that in a little bit, but I can vouch and say that you definitely have opened the door for many people behind you, bro. That's been a beautiful thing to see. But before we get to that, I kind of want to map out kind of that gap between where you were building and establishing that relationship with UTSA basketball, kind of putting in that good work and consistency, and like you said, growing that relationship. So many people were in the question section asking how can I make that happen? How can I
Mhm.
make reps? Map out that journey of what that was like for you to become an intern and then to now getting hired as a full-time creative.
Yeah. So it was kind of I didn't do it now that I've seen the other side of it, the full timer side of it, looking at student workers now. I definitely didn't do it the right way, but if someone were to try and do it the same way I did, I respect it because I know when I was a student worker, I the mindset I had was I'm gonna do whatever I can to get on this creative team, and like I don't care what happens, I'm gonna get there no matter how, no matter what I have to do. And so I had got in touch with the coaches, just started messaging them, making contact directly for them, not really. I didn't know what SIDs were. I didn't know how to get in touch with creative directors. I didn't even know what a creative director was. So just getting in touch with the coaches and kind of making content for them. And after they were posting a little bit of my content, I got in contact. The creative director, the video coordinators, and SIDs kind of got in contact with me. They were like, "Hey, Dylan, your work's really good. We appreciate all of it. We just want you to have a meeting with us, so that way everything that you're doing is still matching our branding with the UTSA, which is totally understandable. It's just from my point of view, I had no idea what any of this was, and I was kind of scared, honestly. I was like, am I is my creative vision or anything that I make, is it going to get taken down, or is it going to like be go through a kind of just under their branding, I'm not really getting the creative freedom that I usually have. And so it was kind of a process, and I'm still grateful to go through it, because now I'm able to help kids that didn't really have that process to go through, and now I'm able to show guys, I'm making it a little bit easier for them to kind of get into UTSA Rowdy Creative College athletics. And so met with the creative director, met with the video coordinator. She made me aware that the next fall they were going to be hiring for the student position. So all I had to do was grind out UTSA content, freelance content, and just make sure I had the best portfolio possible for when that student position opened up next fall. And then that position opened up, worked as a student worker under Elizabeth Tate and Charles Davis and Chris Munoz here at UTSA, and got to work under them for, I want to say, over a little around a year. Got to work with them. They all ended up getting positions about a year later with the XFL. So kind of like wiped our creative team clean and needed brand new full time positions. They hired slowly, and then a position opened up in around my last semester of school, and so I just applied for it. It said degree required, and I was like, I'm just gonna apply for it. I'm gonna just take a chance, and we'll see what happens. And thankfully, they liked my work enough; they were able to work it out with me, and I was able to gain a full time position after being a student worker for a little bit over a year. So, and then I've been here ever since, and just trying to grow the creative team as much as possible, trying to create a better environment for the student workers here as well, and kind of trying to make it better. I had a great experience when I was a student worker, but with the way we're trying to grow, we just had to continue to make changes and kind of continuously recruit and get high level talent to come in here and want to be a part of the team.
It's almost like a no-brainer, bro. Like if they didn't hire you, dog, like it would have there would have been people protesting. I can almost guarantee it, because it's like bro, the NIL dollars probably would have went down. Like it would have been a like it, I, no, it, best hire by far, bro. And you said something that kind of touched base. Is kind of like everybody wiped out. And not only did people move on, people elevate and go to different positions and seek better opportunities, but y'all also switch conferences. Y'all have also kind of like, there's also been kind of more of an importance, and people have seen the value more of the content that you guys produce for socials and for athletes and marketing and recruiting. Talk about those changes from when you were kind of first a student, as from the content aspect of kind of like the media days and kind of the graphics and the value of the content to where it is now and how much it's appreciated.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely appreciated. I get thanked by admin every day for the work that I do. So, the environment here at UTSA is super good. A lot of the changes came from, you know, when we were in Conference USA, we were, all the football games were getting filmed and put in content out, obviously, for football. But basketballs, softballs, volleyballs, baseballs, the amount of creative content we could put out was very limited, because we didn't have a big budget for full timers, and we didn't have a big enough budget for to have as many student workers as we do now. But moving up to American Conference, UTSA kind of knew, okay, like, if we're taking this jump in conference, our creative content is going to have to take a jump as well, because we're going to be competing against bigger schools, not just on the field but also creatively, marketing stuff. So just continuously growing and trying to compete against those other universities. And it's been good, man. I'm grateful that I've been able to be a part of the journey and kind of taking that step. The people before me did a great job of kind of giving us, our face and our brand for the Conference USA, and I'm grateful that I've been a big help in, giving us a face in the American. And I just hope that I'm, here, or some of the students that I've been coaching up, I hope that they get to, in the future, kind of be the face for us when hopefully we go to somewhere bigger, the ACC, SDC, hopefully sometime soon or in the future. Just being ready for that and being able to, prepare these guys to make the jump the way the people before me prepared me to make this jump. So it's pretty cool. It's very interesting. Media days look a lot different now. A lot more production goes into it. A lot more pre-production goes into it than before. So it's really cool to see all that, and I just hope that I get to take that experience because I didn't get to see too much of it when I was a student. The media days and stuff like that. So giving my students a lot more to do. When I was doing media days as a student worker, there was probably maybe 4 or 5 of us at the media day, and that was it. Now media days are 10, 15, maybe 20 people all running different things. So just the scale of it has grown, and it's really cool to see and to be a part of because I got to see both sides.
And you have a mix. Don't get it twisted. Just because they're students, you have a mix of some like early stage students and some really like talented students, bro. So I'm sure even you like being in a leadership position and being able to see them blossom and kind of grow is almost like a rewarding in its own, right?
Oh, for sure, man. And I'm super grateful from, all of our level of students because we have, that's just any student team. Honestly, you're going to have people that, we can send out, shoot something and not have to worry about them at all. We know that they're going to make a product that matches our brand and it's going to look good on all of our socials. And we do have those students that are coming in and they're still learning. And it's just a matter of looking at who has the talent and who has the potential to reach that level as well. Because at the end of the day, we're just trying to put out good product across all of our sports as much as we can. So, they all play a role and they all know, that every single role that they play, no matter what it is, it's important to the team, no matter what.
Speak on the importance of brand, bro. You've mentioned brand a couple of times. Like, how important is that, and how valuable is that, and what are those meetings like when you talk about brand from a creative aspect?
Yeah, it's really interesting. It was something that I had never really experienced before, and I think this is a big, freelance versus working for a team kind of thing. You come in and you can't just, go all in on what you create what you want only, if that makes sense. And they give you an amount of creative freedom, but there's just some things that as a videographer I'll overlook versus someone that's working in marketing or someone that's higher up looking at other things, that I wouldn't even think of because I'm just thinking of what's going to make this video looks the coolest as possible. And that's really it. It's really cool though to be a part of, and it's really I enjoy the challenge of it. Can you make something in your with your creative freedom and make it look good for everybody to where nothing is really getting changed and you're able to put out something that you love, but something that the fans are also going to love whenever they see it.
Is there ever like some challenges though involved for you, or that you've seen from your students? Like, because I know it like you said, that was my next question: is the freelance versus working for a school, and you kind of touched on it, but is that challenging sometimes, or is that just something you've already adapted to and kind of become accustomed to?
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge for me when I got hired full time at first because, again, I didn't really have, at least when I first started, I didn't have too many mentors that had gone through like the college system to kind of give me any advice or anything like that. So I kind of experienced everything for myself and got to, kind of work through things. And I just really had to change my mindset. I was coming in as a kid fresh out of college, kind of this ignorant kid thinking that everything I made was the greatest thing ever. And when I was getting critiques, I was like, from admin because there's certain things that they didn't want in videos that didn't match the brand at first, and it was kind of discouraging a little bit because I was like, man, like they really don't like my work. Like, am I failing at the things that I'm doing? But it's not really that they're not coming and attacking me personally. It's just stuff that has to match their branding because this UTSA is a lot bigger than Dylan Trevino. So I just had to change my mindset about that a little bit, and I'm very grateful for it because it got me out of that like, oh, my work is the greatest thing that I've ever seen. It really made me take time to look at my work and see how is this going to work across so many different audiences, and if you can make it work across all audiences, your work is just going to keep growing and be 100 times better. And going through that, I'm able to kind of you know instead of me being ignorant all the way through my student thing and really only changing my mindset when I got to full time, I'm able to kind of help my students realize that right now while they're students. So it's a little bit easier for them when they get to their first job. And I have to, explain to them, like, look, I'm not trying to tear you down and I'm not trying to say your work isn't good. but we brought you here for a reason, and your work is good, but we have to match our branding across all boards so everything looks uniform through our university.
It's kind of that give and the take, right? Like you're grateful for the position, the opportunity. You know, you get to record some American like
Mhm.
conference type content, bigger stages, bigger environments, but sometimes you have to sacrifice your creative freedom for their overall bigger goal and a bigger vision. So it's like that
Yeah.
give and the take. So it's still a blessing either way, though, bro,
Oh
because
yeah.
those skill sets and that value of branding is gonna even in your freelance creative world, like that's gonna be huge for you
Mhm.
and for them going forward, man. So you kind of touched on something that kind of pivots into our next segment, and you talked about kind of like the mental challenges and the mental blocks of kind of thinking your work is the greatest, and then kind of talking about like those mental hurdles where sometimes you don't think your work is the greatest, and you start
Mhm.
comparing and you start kind of like looking and comparing and contrasting with other creatives and other folks and thinking about what are they going to think, what are they going to say, how are they going to like talk about that moment in time where you go through those challenges, man, where sometimes it's a struggle to even open the laptop and fire up Premiere, man. What gets you through those moments?
Yeah, I really think, through my years in college, when I started getting to kind of my senior year, that was when my faith really started growing and kind of took off to a whole nother level that I didn't think I would ever be able to reach. And I feel like that's helped me the most. I did a lot, like you said, a lot of comparison, a lot of looking at other people's stuff and saying, like, man, like, kind of getting imposter syndrome, like, I don't deserve to be here, like, there's no way that I should be in this position when there's people doing this, at this place, or people that are not even at a college yet and they're doing better work than I am. And it's just it was a lot of me just scrolling my phone, mindlessly scrolling, and just like putting myself in, kind of this depression, like, I don't think that I deserve to be here and I don't think I'm good enough to be here. And growing in my faith kind of helped me get me through that, because one of the greatest quotes that I ever heard was, um, greatness is not you compared to other people. Greatness is what you are doing compared to what God was calling you to do. And
Mm,
I feel like one of my greatest callings was, not to make creative work, but to be put in this position to create, pathways for other people in sports. I feel like a lot of people want to work in sports, and I know when I was in high school, I didn't know that this was an avenue I could take. And now
right.
there's more and more little kids in Bishop picking up cameras because I made a Made by Dylan Instagram account. So um, going through the mental blocks it was really really tough, but growing in my faith really helped me a lot. A lot of praying helped me a lot. Touching grass, getting off the phone, going. Some of my favorite hobbies are playing golf and going to play pickleball. Just getting out of the house and trying not to focus on it too much, because the more you just dive deep into your phone and the more you try to compare yourself, you're just going to keep tearing yourself down and doing more harm to yourself than anyone else could do to you.
It's tough, man. It's a tough struggle that maybe many people don't speak about or many people don't understand that aren't creatives or in this space, because there's even the vice, the other side of that, where sometimes where I'm just as guilty. I'll be transparent too, where I'm sometimes like, man, people were in elevated positions for certain teams or certain spots, and like I don't want to say my work is better, but I'm just as good. You know what I mean? Like, why can't I get a call? Why ain't I in that? And it's like it's a death trap. It's a death sentence, and it's not a good place to be in, because it's not gonna help you in any way. So it's like you said, bro. Like being able to. Uh, just kind of meditate and kind of like self-center, like center yourself again. Touch grass is huge, bro. Early morning, get your feet like ground yourself. Like that's huge, bro. Like that's especially for creatives who give so much energy to social and everybody else, and we get pulled in so many different directions, bro. So great advice there, Dylan, and thank you for sharing that, bro, because I know that's a vulnerable thing for what I mean. Like it's something, but it's definitely something we all go through.
No, yeah, and I just want to get more comfortable sharing it publicly, because us speaking on this can help someone kind of get through whatever they're going through right now just by talking about it. So, I was one of those people for a long time where I just kind of held everything in, and the smallest little thing at one point could just set me off, and everything that I was bottling up kind of would just come out. And I think just talking through it, talking with people, talking with your friends, talking with your pastors, talking with whoever you need to talk to kind of get through it, just saying it, the words coming out of your mouth can just make you feel 100 times better. So trying to get better at that, and trying to be encouraging to others around me to kind of do that as well.
What's the day in the life for you, man? Let's go through a game day for you, man. So you got a game going on that night. What's the typical day for you like at UTSA?
Game days, game days. Game days are cool, man. Those are my favorite days. That's what I like to do the most. Normally, I'll come into the office. If it's a game day, I'll probably come into the office a little bit later in the day. I'll probably come around 10, 11, kind of set up, go through all my gear that I'm going to take to the game, make sure have everything, clear my SD cards, go through stuff like that. Any other little projects that I have due, in the future, I'll kind of touch base on those and working on them a little bit. If there's easy stuff, I'll knock it out. And then I kind of get to the gym a little bit early. Normally, it's at the latest, I'll get there about an hour before the game. I try to get there maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours before, and I try to get my students there early too. Kind of setting up everything, getting the cameras ready, going over certain assignments that we have for our students. So, kind of positioning people, letting them know, okay, I need, if there's something going on at that game. For example, one of our coaches got like I think it was his 300th win ball, so like we need to be prepared for that. That's going to happen before tip off, and just be ready for stuff like that, but just getting them set up, letting my students know their roles. Who's filming, who's going to be doing editing, who's going to be positioned where in the stands, on the baseline, in the upper decks. So that's really what I do before the game, and then when it's game time, it's kind of just moving around wherever I see fit, depending on the game, depending on the opponent, putting out in-game highlights throughout the game, um, kind of get prepared. If we're getting to the second half and we kind of know whether it's going to be a win or a loss. If it's a loss, getting ready for just logging everything, and then if it's a win, getting prepared and getting started on that recap as fast as possible to kind of get that out. So that's a typical game day. Just come into the office, get little stuff done, and then head to the game and go through it, and then after the games, we have a little tradition where we go eat down the street. This place called Fuego Tortilla Grill. So it's a good spot for us after game days. So it's pretty cool. It's just a way for the students. They've been working the game for a certain amount of hours. Just a way that we can go and just chill a little bit before we get started on the rest of the stuff. So it's
Team
cool.
bonding is essential, no?
Yeah, for sure, man. It's definitely something that I think is overlooked, and I think we don't overlook it here, and that's what's made our student team so strong and well bonded, and why they work so well together.
I think not a lot of people also understand like the demand that is sports content creation. Like it's a like quick turn, like because you have your team, of course, but then you're racing against what other shooters you got at an event. Like
Mm,
say, even if it's not a UTSA event, like any sports event, like
yeah.
it's you want to get it out the fastest because you want your social to go trend. Like, is that the case with you guys? And what does that impact on you? Like, is that stressful? Is that hard to deal with sometimes?
Yeah, it's definitely the environment that we work in. Trying to get things out the fastest is just that's the environment of sports, and that's the industry, and that's what it is. And I like to think that it doesn't really discourage me or anything like that. I think when the pressure's on and it's big moments and you're trying to get things out the fastest, I really do think that those are the times where I thrive the most. So I kind of seek it out. I want the game to be close, and I want us to hit a buzzer beater three from half court, and I want to get the clip out fast. And I really thrive, and I really get excited kind of when being in those settings.
Am I alone in being like the only creative that like puts his back against the wall sometimes when he's got a deadline to like cook? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I got 5 hours or something, and it's like, oh dog, you got to turn out this damn video in 30 minutes. Like I don't know, but like we put that pressure in. I feel like that's when we deliver our best content.
Oh yeah, for sure, no doubt. Whether you can handle the pressure, whether you can't handle the pressure, when the pressure comes, I feel like that's going to bring the best work out of you.
True story, man. Hey, you touched on something that I have a love hate relationship for, but I've learned to appreciate it more over the years. And logging footage, bro. For those that don't know about logging footage, bro, tell them about logging footage.
It's the worst, man. It's the least fun part. Especially it's cool. It's honestly not that bad doing it maybe right after a game, but if it's like the day after the game and you're coming into the office, it's just not as fun as being at the game. So, yeah, I mean it's cool. It's something you got to do, and it's something that comes with the job. But I try to pass that off to my students whenever I can. So,
Hey, and for those of y'all that don't know, logging is basically describing and labeling all your clips. Many benefits from that. It'll save you hard drive space for one.
yeah,
You'll probably delete gigs off of your storage device. but two for the archive purposes, man. When you go back and you need an old school clip of whoever, and you
Yeah,
got to just type in that name. It's not 54321.mp4 or some junk like that or whatever it is. So it's like log your footage, bro. Anybody who I contract and works with me probably hates me for it, but I'm like, before you deliver that footage, I need you to log it. And it's just
no,
trying to help build that relationship, build that skill set and that workflow for them.
no, yeah, for sure. It'll definitely be more beneficial in the long run.
So pivoting to now and kind of being your biggest achievement, man, you've done a lot of big things. You've filmed a lot of big teams. You've grown tremendously in a short amount of time. What do you feel like has been your biggest achievement so far in your career this far?
It's a good one. Biggest achievement. Damn, you got me, Danny.
Take your time, man. I mean, you've done a
Yeah.
lot of things, man, and you've worked with a lot of great teams. You've worked with a lot of powerful, like big athletes and teams, man. Like, if it's hard to choose one and you got to do three, what's your top three moments?
You're good. You're good. I think I got it. I think I got the top achievement. Yeah.
Let's go.
So this is, I think, my biggest one. It might not be the biggest one to other people, but it definitely was one for me. It was a special moment for me. It was the first year I had officially, gotten hired as a student worker here at UTSA, and they kind of made it known that if obviously, people come in, they have seniority over you. So you kind of have to work if you got to work at it if you want to film the footballs, the basketballs, the baseballs, the women's basketballs. If you want to film the bigger sports, you kind of got to work for it. It's not going to come, maybe not even in that first semester. It might not be till the next year. And they kind of made that known to me. And so I was just trying to do everything I could, improve myself, that when the big games came, that, I deserved to be there. And so I worked my first couple of football games and did really good. And I remember getting the call that I was selected to be part of the team that was going to film the conference championship football game that we were going to be hosting here at UTSA. And I just remember being just so grateful for that moment. I had, at that time, it really felt like all the work that I put in up until this point, has paid off, and I get to work, the big game. And when I walked into the stadium, they have the trophy set up. They had the confetti after the game. We had won, and that just was a super surreal moment for me to kind of be a part of. I remember the first play of the game, I was standing there and my hands are just shaking with the camera. And, I was nervous and I didn't want to let, my boss down and my peers down and let the team down. So, got those jitters out as quick as I could, but just had a lot of fun. I'm really grateful for that experience. And that's probably the biggest achievement for me. I got to see UTSA, one of the only conference championships that they have here at home. I got to be there and be a part of, and got to document it as well. So super super cool for me, and I'm grateful for being a part of that experience.
I'm a big believer that if you're not a little nervous or a little shaky before a game, you're not in the right space, man. Because
Yeah,
even to this day, I walk into a stadium and I'm like, you just never know. Kind of,
yeah.
it's there's. Do you agree? There's a lot of luck involved in sports, like
It's
in
all luck.
capturing sports.
It's all luck, and I think people kind of ask me like, oh, like how do you get the shot? Like, how are you always doing that? I've just, man, my luck has just been on my side so far, because you could try and plan as much as you can to kind of get something, but at the end of the day, to get the shot that can kind of change your career, you kind of just got to get lucky, man. You can plan for it as much as you want, but luck has a lot to do with it.
Facts, because I mean, there's some intuition. I'm a big believer that you got to know the game, you got to anticipate
Yeah.
kind of some action, but like you said, you don't ever know how things are going to unfold, and you don't ever know how this equipment's going to react. Like you don't know if your focus is going to hunt, like what's you don't ever know, like you know what I mean. So there's
And the
definitely a
refs,
lot of luck.
the
Yeah,
refs can get you.
the ref, yes,
The
bro, notorious, bro, notorious for butt in the face, bro. Like, bro, just step to the side for me, bro. Like,
Oh, man.
I'm a big believer that there's some type of training where they're like, oh yeah, find where the most cameras are and plant yourself
Mhm.
because it just seems that it's crazy how it's universal.
Oh man, it's crazy. Yeah, from at any level too. It does not matter. It happens at, your local summer basketball tournament for, second graders all the way up into the highest level. So they're always going to be after us for sure.
True story, man. You kind of said something that mentioned made me took me back to Oklahoma State a little bit, and it's kind of like it's kind of been the norm that you got to kind of get your reps and pay your dues. That we don't have equestrian here, but they have equestrian, they have soccer, softball, and it's no knock on them because they have national like natty championship level teams and elite level talent. But like you said, everybody's kind of like wants the big stadium, everybody wants the big D1 football, everybody wants the D1, the Big 12 fucking basketball.
Mm.
And sometimes you got to pay your dues, and to a lot of the creatives out here who have been asking kind of like, how do I follow like the path that Dylan did, or how do I get an opportunity at UTSA, or how do I make away in sports when I don't get any experience in it. And it's like you gotta find the things that need you, kind of like youth football sometimes. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's sometimes it could be, I don't know, like kids riding bikes and for competition, but you just gotta find a way to create value and build that portfolio over time and then create that separation.
And I'll piggyback off that, man. You never know what's gonna work for you. I've had students, specifically this year, starting them off on the smaller sports, and one of my guys shot volleyball for me this year, gained a real big interest in it, and now he's shooting for League One volleyball, the professional league that's coming through. They just played at Texas State. They
Hmm.
play all over Texas, other states as well. A professional volleyball league he was able to shoot for because he had that experience from UTSA. And one of my other guys, he was more of a starter, got placed on tennis for the year, and has been just continuously growing in tennis, and just got done shooting a promo for a professional tennis player. And like, you just don't know what opportunities are going to come from where. So just whenever you get handed an opportunity, even if you don't think that it's the biggest thing, it can lead to the biggest thing. So just take advantage of it no matter what opportunity you get.
Big time believer in that, my dog. Big time believer in that because I'm also a firm believer that you'll never know who's going to see your content, bro. And so if you half-ass into a video or a visual and you present that, that's a representation of not only the people that put you in that place, but yourself and your work ethic too. So I'm a big believer of telling everybody, like, you want to be in the NBA, shoot like you're at the NBA now. You want to be, in the Super Bowl, or you want to be wherever you are, take these opportunities that you're doing as if they are those places you want to be, because you don't ever know who's going to see your stuff. And to your testament with those guys in volleyball and tennis, like, everybody's after, it seems, basketball and football in this space, right? Like, it's the popular, it's the hype, it's what clicks, clout, all of that. But volleyball is a big time money sport, bro. Tennis, big time money sport.
Yeah.
Pickleball, tennis, like, dude, they're growing tremendously in the space of content creation, bro. And while everybody's focused on these areas, of basketball, football, and all these other things, um, dog, there's plenty of opportunity in those spaces if you just kind of pull yourself out of kind of chasing what everybody else is doing and find a solve a problem. I'm a big believer that if you're a freelancer, that your agenda is to solve problems, and I feel like there's plenty of opportunities in those spaces you just mentioned.
For sure, for sure. And you don't, I don't want to discourage anybody to kind of like not obviously go after your dreams. For if you want to be the football, the basketball guy, go for it, man. I definitely want to encourage that. But I was talking to one of my student workers the other day. I'm like, you're doing so good with the volleyball thing. When you're going into basketball and football, you're competing with this many people. And when you decide that you want to go, I want to be the guy for volleyball. That pool just shrinks, and you get more of a chance to kind of pay the bills and do what you want to do for the rest of your life doing what you love. And so just take advantage of it, man, and find your avenue, and make the most out of it.
And it's not permanent, bro. I don't want to say it's a stepping stone, but you never know what it's going to lead to. Different
Yeah,
doors open to more opportunities, and so it's different for everybody. But yeah, definitely, bro,
for
most
sure.
definitely. On to the fan questions, my guy. Um, I'll start with a good one, man. This is a kind of one that kind of touched me, and it said, "What Bible verses inspired you the most throughout your career?"
Ooh, Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God.
Hmm.
Just there's times where especially in our industry, where there's so many things that you can't control that you want to control, And just going back to that verse, just be still, and it's all in his plan, and he knows what's best for you, and he's going to put you in the position to do what you were called to do in the first place. So trust in his plan. And I have big dreams of making it to the NBA or making it to the NFL, but it might not be God's plan. And I've come to accept that, and kind of know that no matter where he puts me, I know that I'm meant to be there, and I'm just going to do whatever I can to perform the best at the place that he's put me in.
I'm definitely gonna read that verse, man, because I'm kind of a control freak myself, right? Like I think maybe all of us kind of are, especially as a freelancer who sometimes I push off edits to, I try to hire different people and I want it to look and feel a certain way. And I'm like, they're going to know I didn't edit this or like whatever, they're going to be like, this isn't what we paid for. But being able to trust that, God's will is going to be done and releasing that control and kind of trusting that journey, bro. So as somebody who kind of struggles with that control aspect of kind of that portion of the space, that hit me hard, bro.
Yeah, it's good, man. Opening up that Bible has helped me a lot, so I'm definitely grateful for it, and definitely grateful for that verse. There's a lot of different things that you could go through, especially in your workspace. So finding something like a verse to just go back to, no matter when you're going through stuff, I know that I go through a lot of times where I'm wanting to control the situations, and having that verse kind of like ready to go is easy for me to kind of just say it in my head, and like, just be still, be still. There's a greater plan than what you want to control right now.
Beautifully said. Advice for young creatives trying to make connections in this industry.
Ooh, don't think that you're too cool to go up to people regardless of the level. There was times where I was sitting in, at gyms at AAU events, and I would see people like Nick in the Cut or Jake Fisher, or I've been in the gym with Cool Mac before, and just one of the biggest things I regret is not going up to them and picking their brain a little bit about the smallest things, and just getting a conversation going, because when you create those genuine friendships and relationships with people, you don't know what that's going to lead to. And go to them more as a genuine conversation, and not just think of them as a person and not just as a business transaction, because it's a lot more to that, and you're gonna network a lot better, and you're gonna get a lot better opportunities and a lot more people in your corner by creating genuine relationships with people. So just talk to as many people as you can, and network as much as you can, because some of the people that you don't think are going to be there for you are going to be there for you, and some of those people that you do think are going to be there for you aren't. So you just have to make as many relationships as you can, and just stay connected as much as you can.
I backdoor. I co-sign that advice to the fullest, man, because I think so many people in a world today where they rely, I said this in a previous episode, but people rely on kind of their portfolio to speak for them or their portfolio to get them in the door or do something like that. And I'm huge on, I'd take a relationship over a portfolio any day because I know who you are. I can kind of help grow and teach you these skill sets, and if I know you're a solid human, or I kind of just can trust that you're gonna deliver or be that person I need you to be. I'm gonna pick him, and it goes back to something that I used to hate when I was a kid, Dylan. I used to hate the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that used to rub me the wrong way so much as a kid, man, because I felt like so many unqualified people were getting those positions. But now that I've kind of grown as an adult, I want to pair the two. I want to, kind of,
Yeah,
be the best, but I also want to, make sure I have a solid network of resources and people. And it's so tough as creatives because we like to, kind of close off and be in our own little zone and not like we're introverted and extroverted at the same time, but at different times. And so like when you're on these sidelines, I co-sign that and I backdoor that. Like make sure that you're shaking hands and introducing yourself,
mhm,
and finding out who different people are and who they shoot for, and just kind of building that relationship and following each other, because that's gonna hold some weight and bring some opportunities that you may not even think of at that time.
for sure, 100%.
Next question is, ask Dylan to do a flip. I,
Who asked that? It's someone
I,
that it's
yeah,
someone
you.
that knows me personally, because he know I can't do no flip.
Yeah, it's definitely somebody you know. I'm not here to blast anybody, but I'm sure when they see this, they're gonna
Oh my
you
lord.
probably have an idea.
Yeah.
Next question: does Made by Dylan like Joe's and Pat's, or does he think they're horrible?
Chosen path. Oh my lord. Horrible. 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 Whoever put that joke is gonna know what I'm talking about. Horrible. Horrible.
Nice. We'll just skip over that so we don't expose anything. Um, I got asked to mention the Marlboro Men to you.
Oh,
Mar
the Maribor
the
men.
Marlboro Men to you.
Maribor men, shout out to them, man. That's a group of us that when I got to travel to Europe with the volleyball team, it was a group of us that we were having a really really fun time while we were out there in Europe. So shout out to them. Shout out to Ryan, to Jake, to Carl, to Drill, to Drew, to Carol. Shout out for the whole team that we kind of rolled with, and it was such a great time, man. I love That's probably one of the funnest times I've ever had with any sporting team traveling. That was such a great experience, and I don't know if ever would have traveled outside of the country like that with any other team, or had that opportunity. So grateful that I got to do that for sure.
I completely butchered that name. My bad.
You're good. Shout out to the boys.
Um, Next question: how do you keep up with the trends and the technologies in sports media?
Who I think it's as much as just following social media. That's the easy part, but um, I would be lying if I said I did it all myself. A lot of it comes from, my student workers. I don't think I'm too old, but they be calling me Unc now and then. So, I rely on them heavy for that. They're fresh coming into college. Some of them are freshmen, sophomores. So they're younger than me, so they're able to keep up with some of the trends a little bit more than I am. So just relying on them. Don't think that you're the most trendiest guy, because I definitely don't think that that's me. So definitely relying on them a lot and trying to capitalize on some of the things that can we take this and what is the trend and how can we kind of twist it and make it our own thing for UTSA and kind of capitalize on it.
And sometimes it might not stick, and that's okay too, right?
Yeah, you can't be scared to push the envelope in this industry. You have to be willing to take risks, because some of the biggest rewards are going to come from those risks that you take.
Oh. You kind of answered this one earlier, but you answered the first part. So we'll ask it and get that answer again, but then allow you to answer the second part.
Okay.
First camera you shot on, and what do you shoot on now?
Yeah, so the first camera I ever shot on was a Sony A6400. Super small body. I used like a kit lens too. It was like I want to say it was like a 70 to 180 with like a f 6.3 aperture. So you can imagine how tough it was to shoot on that. So little did I know that there was going to be better stuff coming along the line. But I can kind of like go through. I didn't upgrade too many times throughout my career. So after that, I upgraded to a Sony A7 III. I used that for a long time. I One of my lenses that I got using that was a Tamron 20 to 200. F-stop was still like 5.6, but that was a beast of a lens going from 20 to 200. I was able to use it for like a lot of different events. So that was pretty cool. After that, I finally upgraded to a Sony A7 IV, got my first time kind of like shooting 4K footage and saw, kind of the difference with that. And then I've been shooting with the A7 IV since. I still have it. And then now me and one of my student workers both kind of went halvesies on a FX6. So just did that recently. So some good footage should be coming soon. And thankfully we have one here at the school too. So I've had a good amount of chances to kind of mess around with it and just see the difference it is. And with us trying to make that jump in creative work here at UTSA, upping our camera equipment has been big for us, and very thankful to our departments for putting that trust in us and being willing to spend that money on that type of equipment and trusting us to be able to use it and use it the right way.
You might know who asked this, but favorite 7-on-7 team.
Defcon Texas, man. There's no one better in the country. No one better than Defcon Texas, man. We're the littest. We got the best players. We got the best creative team. No one's better.
Talk about that experience, working with Coach Clayton and Defcon, man, with some elite level talent, some elite coaching, and like you said, some Cole, shout out Cole.
Yeah,
Working out with some of the most elite creatives too, bro. It's like an all around dub.
hmm Yeah, it's definitely, a lot of people probably think, and I will say that UTSA is my favorite place that I've ever worked, but man, DEF CON is right up there, man, because I've just had some of the best times traveling with the team. It was kind of crazy. I kind of just DM'd. I had never really seen 7-on-7 back home in Kingsville. I'd never really known about it too much, and I didn't really know what it was until I got to San Antonio, and I saw some of the clips, and I just started DMing a bunch of 7-on-7 accounts on Twitter, kind of asking, "Hey, can I shoot an event?" What was crazy is if you know the man, you know how crazy he is. But Clayton Guillory messaged me back, and hadn't really talked to him. Just seen a couple of videos on my Twitter, and I said, "Hey, can I shoot an event?" He said, "Are you available to fly to Miami tomorrow?" And I was like, "Whoa!" Like, was not prepared for that, like at all. And I thankfully I was booked that weekend or something, so I couldn't go. And so I got to shoot their next tournament, which was in San Antonio, which was a little bit easier. But started traveling with them kind of right off the bat. After that tournament they did in San Antonio, I ended up doing a road trip with them to New Orleans for the first time at my first battle event. So it was really cool, man. I'm grateful for the experience. Just some of the things that can come out of 7-on-7. You're not worried about, you know, the other things that you would worried about when you're at a college game, press and stuff like that, and all the things that come with winning and losing the game. How are you going to flip this? Whatever. When you go to 7-on-7, it's all fun, man. It's all entertainment. It's all high energy, and it's just something that I really enjoy, and something that I hope that I can film for as long as possible because I just enjoy it that much, and the guys just make it 100 times better. The group that Clayton and Kim kind of have there at DEF CON, it's just a one of a kind group. And they're a lot more than a group, and they're a lot more than a 7-on-7 team. They really are a family. And they really, when you are integrated into that family, they treat you like family, man. And, they're going to look out for you. And I know that I can, if I'm ever in a pinch with something, like I can always go to Kim and to Clayton for anything. And I would feel comfortable asking them for anything. And they've had my back 100%.
That's beautiful, bro. Because that's hard to come by today. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's beautiful to hear.
Yeah, for sure. And they definitely gave me a bunch of, things I'm never gonna forget. A lot of places that I got to travel for the first time with them. Our trip to Vegas was first time I ever got to go to Vegas. So I know that was a one of a kind trip. Had some of the funniest moments I've ever had with the team, man. So I really enjoyed that trip. Being with you, Cole, and the rest of the guys was just super fun, man. And I'll never forget that trip.
Hell yeah. Somebody mentioned shout out the Rowdy Creatives. Um,
Yeah.
it's been kind of cool to see that from you guys because it's kind of like you guys get to pull back the curtains, which isn't really, isn't always the norm in college athletics or even in content creation in general, where the creatives are kind of like behind the scenes, don't get mentioned. But for to see you guys kind of pull that curtain back and shine some light on the guys putting in the work, that's been kind of cool. Speak on how that came about.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. So many kids were kind of when I got hired. A lot of kids that next year when we were hiring for our student workers over the summer, a lot of kids were kind of DMing like, "Hey, I want to be part of Rowdy Creative," and and I'm trying to recruit kids too. I'm DMing kids that are graduating seniors. I'm like, "Hey, I've seen your work. Are you interested in coming to UTSA?" We're trying to beef up this creative team as much as possible, and it's worked so much in my favor and in their favor as well. And upping the Rowdy Creative page has just been a way for us to show, to actively recruit, show them, obviously we're putting in work and we're putting out good stuff, but look at all the behind the scenes stuff that we get to do. Like it's a family here. Like, we're all for one all together and we have a really good time. We do really good work, but we have a good time doing it as well. So showing a lot of the behind the scenes is just a way for, people to kind of see, the everyday life of like what it's like to be a part of Rowdy Creative, and I just hope that they like what they see and hopefully they want to be a part of it as well.
Nice. Um, this one's kind of up in the air. It's debatable, but he asked, "What's your take on that San Antonio market? And is there gatekeeping here?"
Who is there gatekeeping? It's a good question. I think it really all depends on who you come across. Thankfully, a lot of people that I've come across in San Antonio, have been pretty good. You and other creatives that I've met, and even guys that are on the creative team here at UTSA. Uh, I try my best. I know I came across some people that were kind of gatekeeping stuff, didn't want to reveal, kind of what LUTs they're using, or what kind of this effects pack and like stuff like that. And I'm like I just want to give everybody the opportunity to eat, man, because there's enough food for everybody, I promise you. And it's just some people get stuck on they want to get to the highest level, and everyone wants to film the Houston Rockets and the San Antonio Spurs and the Dallas Mavericks. But, there's opportunity for everybody. If you're so focused on that, you might miss the opportunity that you got with the RGV Vipers or some other, lower level
Preach.
team. So, just take advantage, and, why gatekeep? Why not help someone that's in need? I know that there was people that helped me and I'm grateful for them, but there was a lot of people that didn't want to help me. And, it just puts a sour taste, of you and your business in other people's mouths. So I just try to my best to not gatekeep, man. I wouldn't want to gatekeep anything, and I try to help out anyone that comes to my DMs, any way that I can.
The most asked question seemed to be is how can people with no experience get experience? We touched on it, but I want to revise it a little bit is and kind of say is if somebody kind of wanted to take the footsteps to become a student creative or an intern for the Rowdy Creatives or for UTSA, what would that process look like? What would your advice be to them?
Yeah, if you're trying to start from the ground up, you know, make edits on TikTok, on Instagram, from your phone. Shoot with your phone, and make stuff for people until you can save and get a camera, and then get your first camera, and then shoot stuff for free to build your portfolio, and then start charging a little bit after that, and slowly save up to get a better quality camera. It's all about, if you really want to get better and you really want to make it in this industry, you really got to grind for it, and you kind of got to, pay your dues. And there's times where you have to shoot stuff for free to build that portfolio. A lot of the stuff that I shot for the Spurs, I didn't get paid for any of that, but it was something that definitely helped me get to things that I did get paid for. So just taking that and grinding for it, man. You got to save. That's the biggest thing. You have to save. You have to be willing to shoot for free, and you got to be disciplined when it comes to saving, so that way you can get. I'm not a big quality makes everything, but quality does matter sometimes, and especially when you get to those higher levels, quality is going to play a big difference. So just doing your best to do it without the quality until you can get the quality.
Facts. And that's dialing in your vision, dialing in your perspective, your angles, your edit, your sound design, like all those
Yeah,
little things that you can control before everybody says I don't have the camera I want, but
exactly.
still growing in those areas.
Hmm.
Solid advice, my guy. This is a question for me is kind of what's next for Dylan? You've kind of paved the way, made a name for you, pretty quick and pretty very reputable in my eyes here in San Antonio and in Texas. What's next for you? I know you got big goals and dreams.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think definitely one of the end goals is to, obviously work for a professional team. If pro doesn't work out, I definitely want to start, my own agency as well, and kind of tap into, big name players running their social medias. Thank God I have a marketing degree. So kind of, running a sports marketing agency. That way we're handling socials for players, handling NIL, content for professional college athletes. But I just want to get to the highest level as I can, just to kind of continue to pave the way. Something that I kind of thought of recently is you don't see a lot of Hispanics in pro sports that are shooting. And, that's something I want to do. That's a goal of mine, because I want to be able to show, other Hispanic kids that they can make it to this level, and, kind of pave the way for them, and pave the way for, people that are the same, ethnicity as me, and see more people that look like me in those professional settings, and show that we can do it and we have what it takes to do it.
I shit you not, Dylan. Earlier today, it's crazy that you mentioned that because earlier today, man, I sent out an email to there's a Latino basketball community and they're hosting a lot of events here for the Final Four and in Tampa for the women's Final Four. But they focus mainly kind of around the coaching and kind of athletic director kind of aspect of the space. But I was intrigued by it because I'm like there's marketing and branding in there. And not only is there marketing and branding in there, there's marketing and branding for our people, for my people. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of it's ironic that you mentioned that and brought that up because it's something that I'm more and more interested in is and not to say it's anything about any of the other races or genders or anything, but it's something I'm intrigued about. Is there opportunity to market and brand and shine a lot more light on kind of the Latinos in this space?
Yeah, for sure, man. I did. It's recently something that really came to my eye. I had taken a look at like a lot of the creatives that were around, and I just didn't see any Enyas and any names, and so it was kind of something that I took a look at, and I was like, man, like I can be that person for someone. I didn't have someone to look up to like that when I was kind of coming up through the industry, so I want to try my best to reach the highest level, just to show other kids from my neighborhood and my town and my city and kind of show that like we can do that. We have the ability to do that.
Last thing I'll let you leave us with, Dylan, is the best advice you ever received. You said was the external will never satisfy the internal. Tell me why you feel like that was the best advice, and why does that mean something to you?
Yeah, it was the external will never satisfy the internal. It was just don't put all of your don't focus so much on just the work and the grind and stuff like there's so much more to life than your camera. And you focus too much on it and you put everything into it, and sometimes it's just not going to work out. And if you put everything into that, don't get me wrong, you want to give it your all and give it all your effort, but just don't let it take over your life. There's so much more to life than just your camera, just the job, shooting a game, shooting an event. There's so much more to life than that. So the external will never satisfy the internal. The only thing that can satisfy the internal is the eternal. So just turning to God and praying, praying a lot, and leaving it all in His hands and trusting His plan, and knowing that He's gonna put you in the place that you're meant to be.
Man, Dylan, I appreciate you taking this time to spend with us, man. It's been an honor. You've definitely dropped a lot of gems and paved the way for so many people, not only here in San Antonio at UTSA and around the surrounding areas, but back home to hear that so many people back at Bishop have now picked up a camera and have started to, kind of move the ball and move the chains forward from where you established, in the early days of Made by Dylan. So I'd like to just thank you for taking some time to spend with us. I know you're hella busy. I know you got the Final Four around the way and all kinds of other stuff. But man, it was truly an honor, and I can't wait to release this for everybody to hear and see, man. So thank you again, Dylan.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the opportunity, Danny, and I just wanted to thank you so much, man. Since the first time that we met, you've been such a great mentor to me, and you're such a big part of my journey. And I don't want you to forget that, man. You definitely played a big role in the success that I've gotten to till today.
Appreciate you, Diane. I can't wait to see what's next.